and welcome. Thank you, delegates and panelists, for joining this session on time. My name is Gopal Krishna Anand, Associate Editor of Thermal Control Max, and I welcome you all to the Thermal Control Max's interactive session on integrating modern technologies with IAQ. I have my colleague Rajesh, Editorial Thermal Control Max, to introduce the panelists and tell you more about this interactive session. I welcome Ms. Rajesh to take over and moderate the session.
Thank you, Mr. Gopal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thermal Control Magazine's interactive session on integrating modern technologies with IAQ. Before COVID, IAQ management was mainly concerned with dust and air pollution from outdoor or indoor sources. With a changed perspective, companies are now concerned about airborne pathogens and integrating IAQ monitoring technologies in HVAC systems that can track them. According to Harvard research, we spend 90% indoors and come into contact with contaminants in the air that affect our productivity and well-being. A building might have IAQ monitoring, energy-efficient HVAC systems, and occupant safety enhancement. But integrating them with systems and leveraging data to drive outcomes may help achieve healthy environment. A cost-efficient approach may be source control to protect IAQ, then ventilation. Wireless sensors can track levels of VOCs, dust, temperatures, and humidity. HEPA filters dilute indoor concentrations of airborne particles. IoT and artificial intelligence functions help to find source and to monitor air pollution in real time. The air cleansing, IAQ strategy, temperature, humidity, and ventilation management can be integrated with the systems and sensors to provide intelligent monitoring and control in managing IAQ environments. On this note, Thermal Control Business Update will host a roundtable conference on integrating modern technologies with IAQ. Industry experts will discuss the opportunities and new methods for improving air quality, air handling, and ventilation technologies, AI and IoT integration, innovative monitoring strategies, and modern integration technologies for future sustainability. This session is powered by Fluke India. Fluke Corporation is a manufacturer of industrial test, measurement, and diagnostic equipment, including electronic test equipment, thermal imaging solutions, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and a privilege for me to introduce you to today's distinguished speakers. Mr. Prashant Jain, the Head of Retail Business at Fluke India, Mr. Ravi Kaushik, the CEO of AIRTH, and Mr. Barun Agarwal, the founder and CEO of Breathe Easy Consultants Private Limited.
Mr. Prashant, closed premises are at a risk due to increasing recirculation of air indoors and airborne particles. So air quality is a prime issue everywhere. What opportunities do you see HVAC testing in the market?
I think Barun quoted this quote from Peter Drucker: we can't improve what we can't manage or what we can't see. So the first line is, what is the current status and where we want to be? So let's say current status is that indoor air quality is at 300 AQI. We want to go to 30 or 3 or maybe 0. The first thing is to monitor. The first thing is to understand where we are, because that tells us what kind of technology, what kind of tools, what kind of integration we require to achieve our end result. So monitoring becomes very important. And when we are monitoring, now if the diagnosis itself is not right, then the treatment can never be right. For good diagnosis, we need reliable, we need trusted source of product, as well as people who can help us to get to a reliable reading, to an accurate understanding of the current scenario. So it's very important that the vendor which we select should have a past background of working in the same domain. They should be working with the relevant standards. They themselves should have a good knowledge about how AQI or how different. Maintaining AQI is not one simple thing. There is an interaction of so many things. There is an electrical part of it, there is a mechanical part of it, and there is an air part of it. We need to make sure that we are addressing to each and every component within the entire ecosystem of it. The basics is the air conditioning system, and on that basic, then there comes the filtration system, and then comes the data analytics part. So I think whenever we are talking about indoor air quality, we have to look at it from an end-to-end solution, not only one product at one end, but the right set of product, right set of technology with the right side of tool and people.
Quite nice. We have to go by Peter Drucker first. So, Mr. Prashant, there is a question by Mr. Ashok Kumar Subramaniam, Director, Sunrise Ecosystems. He's asking, can we use Fluke CO205 aspirator kit for the basement car park ventilation applications?
Because typically in our CO and CO2 are more pronounced in a parking lot, or in a parking lot the ventilation may not be as good as in an open environment, and there are cars which are parked for a long period of time. Now all our envelopes, commercial envelopes, are so large, the parking are so large that maybe a car has to go half a kilometer inside the parking itself. All those fumes and car exhaust, it gets accumulated. So many times I've seen that there are a parking exhaust maintenance system where there are sensors put in the parking lot. If there is a buildup of CO or CO2 above a safe level, then the exhaust fan, maybe ID fan or FD fan, however the way the ventilation is designed, the fan starts and the fresh air comes in. That's when the system is normal. But how do we know that our sensor itself is working right? So for that, we need a spot testing machine or a spot testing tool. Sensor is a fixed installation. There is no way to check a sensor. So Fluke CO and CO2 level monitors, they act as your safeguard against a sensor failure. What if the sensor itself is not working and there is a buildup of exhaust gases, the fan does not switches on because the sensor is wrong. So we still need a tool once in 7 days, once in 15 days, or based upon your maintenance practices, based upon your maintenance schedule, we can do a spot testing of a place that if the sensor or the entire system is working right. So of course, Fluke can help in getting you the right CO and CO2 sensor for this application.
I hope Mr. Ashok Kumar would have been satisfied with this reply. Mr. Ravi, there is another question. How do you achieve IAQ with air filter? Because coating or mechanical filters?
Basically, the physical properties. So we can coat a pre-filter, we can coat a fine filter, we can also coat a HEPA filter or ULPA filter without much change in filtration efficiency and pressure drop. So we have actually tested on all various MERV filters and HEPA filters. It's mostly always mechanical filtration that helps, but also because of the polycatalytic polymers we are using. So the fibers are electrostatically charged, because of which filtration efficiency slightly increases. So mostly mechanical filtration, but some part of it has electrostatic attraction, which increases the filtration efficiency.
Okay, person would have got that answer. It's an anonymous attendee. Mr. Barun, you were talking about the displays and all. So there is a question for you. Can you highlight the available products and technologies to measure and control the IAQ at residential and close premises?
So in terms of measuring, there's lots of products. And exactly what Mr. Prashant said right now, as an example, we'll put 500 sensors in one building, which are typically B-grade sensors. And then we'll buy one Fluke A-grade sensor or two Fluke A-grade sensors for that facility to make sure that all those 500 sensors are performing to within a certain standard or within a certain range of efficiency. So you need to have a B-grade sensor in terms of multiple sensors in a facility, and that facility needs to have one or two, depending on the size of the facility, A-grade sensors, research grade sensors, lab grade sensors like a Fluke, or there are others as well. So in terms of B grade, there are companies like Kytera, there are companies like Airveda, there's companies like Air Visual from IQ Air that manufacture monitors for measuring air quality. In terms of A grade or research grade, there's definitely Fluke on the top of the list, but there's also other companies like there's Particle Plus, there's TSI, there's a whole range, there's Grey Wolf, there's a whole bunch of other indoor air quality specific measurement companies out there. In terms of filtration, there's a whole slew of products and technologies that people can use. I like to divide technologies with regards to filtration in two key buckets. One is active filtration filtration technologies and one is passive filtration technologies. We like to work with passive filtration technologies, i.e. typically mechanical filters, so particulate filters, active carbon filters with various kinds of impregnation for targeting specific gases, because we know that it's been used for 50, 100 years and it's been safe for human beings. Active filtration technology, on the other hand, which is fairly new, and you can give it many different names: electrostatic precipitators, ionizers, RGF, photocatalytic oxidation. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different names when it comes to active filtration technology. One has to be very careful when you're using these kinds of technologies, because as Ravi also mentioned a little while back, some of these technologies can produce ozone as a byproduct. Some of these can produce formaldehyde as a byproduct. When you have a titanium plate with a photocatalytic oxidation, you potentially can get formaldehyde as a byproduct, because you're starting to change the chemical composition of molecules in the air. So you're removing certain pollutants, but as part of the chemical formula, if you know chemistry, you'll actually end up getting a few harmful byproducts which are not required. So we like to stick with the passive filtration technologies, media filters, particulate filters at different grades, and active carbon filters to remove gases. But there are a slew of other technologies for removal of pollutants on the active side as well. So do your research before deciding on buying anything, is what I say.
Yeah, definitely. Research needs to be done. So can we integrate IOQ devices with BMS system by using internet?
Yes, absolutely. We've done that in multiple facilities where IAQ devices today have BMS integration capability. We've integrated them with the Schneider BMS, with Johnson Control BMSs, with Honeywell BMSs. And essentially the goal over here is to start to control other components of your HVAC and optimize depending on a certain logic that you can put in. So we've created that logic for HVAC and IAQ with regards to CO2, with regards to particulate matter, with regards to TVOCs. So if your TVOCs go up, we do a flush out. The fresh air dampers open out and a flush out happens. If your particulate matter goes up, a little bit more recirculation and proper filtration starts to happen. If your CO2 goes up, then again, a little bit more fresh air dampers will open up. So that logic is built into the BMS, which can control multiple components. So your chiller, your dampers, your TFAs, your air conditioning system, your fresh air systems, your filtration systems, all of them can then get controlled by your BMS system. And the monitoring systems is the intelligence which is telling it how to optimize it and how to use that logic to the most optimal level. So if you aren't able to do that integration, then you're not achieving the level of optimization that is possible out there.
For optimizing that is necessary. Mr. Prashant, what are your thoughts on including IOQ monitoring and control features in air conditioners?
In fact, I was about to ask this question to Barun, that Barun, how good the modern, all of us would see, like, in North it is August, come September, October, we see Philips and then all the companies selling us this air filtration devices. And now I own myself, I own two devices, one almost 5 years back and one which I bought last year. In fact, these devices are also coming with a particle count. It shows you the IAQ level. How good these are? Are these class A, B, C, or is there a D, E, F also? Just to give you a parlance, our Fluke 985 particle counter comes at a price of 6 lakhs. A filter with a complete air filtration unit and a display comes in like maybe 10,000 to 25, 30,000. It has a filtration unit and a laser, unit which can count the number of particles. We are doing it in a very sophisticated way. But are these a reliable indicator of our internal pollution?
No, they're not. So you're absolutely right. I mean, I have about 4 of these 6 lakh, 8 lakh machines in my office that we use for measuring facilities, right? And I know the value of these. I get them calibrated every year. It costs me a pretty penny to send them to the US to calibrate as well. These monitors, the sensors that you have on these air purifiers, they are cost about $1 each. $1 is the cost. Even that's too much sometimes. When you buy it in bulk, you can get it cheaper. So they start to drift very quickly and they start to give you false positive readings. So you will be lulled into a sense of security and safety with these low-cost sensors that go into air purifiers. But over a period of time, they will drift, and you got to be very careful of that. Another thing that I tell people is, the air around an air purifier is typically cleaner than the air next to my bedside what I'm breathing. So you want a sensor close to where you're sleeping rather than where the air purifier is kept in the other corner of the room typically, because I don't like the noise next to me. Another big challenge, the main question was about air conditioners integrating air quality monitors and filtration. Voltas has recently announced, and there's been a lot of advertisements in the newspaper about an air conditioner with a HEPA filter in it. Believe it or not, it's the first air conditioner with a real HEPA filter, and it works. It is able to remove particulate matter. However, the problem with that, and I say this as a problem with all air purifiers because I faced that challenge myself, is that all these systems are only recirculating the air within a room. If you are sleeping in a bedroom, two people are sleeping, then you are breathing in oxygen, you're breathing out carbon dioxide all night long. That air purifier, that HEPA filter on your Voltas air conditioner or on your air purifier that you have in your bedroom is recirculating the air as well and removing some of the particulate matter. If it has a carbon filter, it might remove some gases and odors because it's a very basic 50-gram carbon filter. Now, what happens to the CO2 in the room? When you wake up in the morning, your CO2 levels in a bedroom can go as high as 3,000 parts per million, when anything over 800 as per a Harvard study says that it's not healthy for you. So what are you doing about the CO2? Took me 4 years to crack that problem, and we've been able to figure that out. Now we have, through our air purifier, we bring in air from outside and we filter all the outdoor contaminants and we positively pressurize the room within the space. We are able to get to zero particulate matter. We are able to get to zero gases. We are able to get to perfect air quality with that solution. Now, can that be done in a normal air conditioner? No, unfortunately it can't, because bringing outdoor air in one of these split air conditioners is not an easy task. It's just not designed to manage that. The filters are not designed to take that level of pollution from outside. It can do recirculation, but it cannot take that heavy load of pollution from outside, and it's a big challenge. So all these air purifiers that we use, unfortunately, they remove one problem in terms of particulate matter, but they add or they don't fix the second problem of carbon dioxide and VOCs. You need to find a solution that fixes all three problems: PM 2.5 or PM1, carbon dioxide, and volatile organic compounds / gases. So when you can find that, then you've got perfect air quality.
Varun, I did some experiment with, I bought some 3M filters which are designed for split air conditioners. I put it on the normal mash filter, but it reduces your air delivery by at least 30 to 40%.
Exactly.
Finally, you have to do a partial, like when I read in detail what 3M says, how to use it, that don't cover entire area, just cover 30%. So it means you have to wait and see that, okay, all the particulate matter should fall on that 30% area where the filter is.
Air moves through the path of least resistance.
Absolutely. So there is no, it's like current. You introduce, it's like water. You introduce an obstacle, it will take a round.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't know. There are many things which are available in market, and as general people, most of us, even I did that experiment, and then I found it that it's not making any sense to me. And these filters were like 600 rupees per AC per season, and not worth at all.
Completely agree with you. You and I are on the same boat on that.
One thing which I feel is that inside of our car is even more dirty than our homes because of a lot of carpets, seat, and the AC is not as big, and a lot of dust going inside the louvers. Do we have some technology that we can get a better air in cars?
So I'm still working on a CO2 solution for the car, but in my car, my particulate matter and my gases are zero. So I have, again, it's a Swiss product. It's called Atom from IQ Air. It's installed in all my cars, and pretty much within 3 minutes of driving the car, the particulate matter in my car is zero. And I've measured gases once in a while, and I've got excellent readings because it has a special filter in it for removal of gases as well. So there are solutions out there, and some of them, to get good air, are expensive solutions to get the right solution. But at the end of the day, you have to question that yourself, right? What is more valuable? Is my health more valuable, or is the money that I'm spending more valuable?
But Mr. Maroon, now many of the car manufacturers claim that they come up with a filter, or you can say air filtration unit inside the car. How far it is reliable?
Yes, they do, and some of them are also putting sensors into the vehicle. But again, the same challenge: get a good quality sensor. I know not every consumer is going to go buy a 6 lakh sensor. I understand that. But you can call a company like us. We'll do even free testing with a 6 lakh sensor for you in your house sometimes. Once in a while, we'll put a special free testing for 1 week. So find us in that 1 week, and we'll come and do a free testing for you in your car and make sure that that reading that you're getting in your car is accurate or not. So you'll get to know, is that manufacturer actually doing what they're claiming that they're doing or not? I just got a new electric vehicle. It's a Tata Nexon EV. And they claim again that they've got a particulate filter in there. The AQI on there, first of all, the readings of AQI are all wrong. Most people don't understand the difference between PM 2.5 and AQI. So they're giving me an AQI of 0 within 1 minute of sitting in the car. So when I take a Fluke sensor and I sit in that car, I'm still getting PM 2.5s of about 40 to 50 after 1 minute, whereas that sensor in the car is giving me 0. So there's enough of doctory that is happening in the back end over here, which people are trying from a consumer perspective to lure a consumer to buy a certain product because air quality has become the hip thing. Everybody's talking about it. It's an important issue. The news, the media is covering it, and we all are worried about our health. But be careful. As a consumer, all I'll say is do your research. Get companies that actually know what they're doing. And I'm sure there's a few of these companies around, and get them to come out and do real testing with good quality equipment like Fluke. I'm being a advertising board for you, Prashant, but I love your product, so I'm going to keep saying that. Make sure you use the right products, and you'll actually understand what really air quality is. It's not rocket science. You know, I tell people I'm not even an engineer, and if I can run a company doing engineering works for large facilities around India, then this is not rocket science. Anybody can do this.
Yeah, actually, great that Mr. Barun that you mentioned about the consumer perspective. So, Mr. Ravi, I have a consumer perspective to share with you that I'm using one of the air filtration unit of one of the famous brands, and we see that I live in Mumbai. Okay, so we see that without air conditioning, the room shows somewhere around 80, 82. And once the air conditioning is on, it goes down to around 20, and with the air filtration, it goes to 0. So, how far it is critical? What is your view about it? I mean, what kind of education required for consumers from this perspective?
Definitely, what you are saying is 80 to 20. That is like natural decay of particulate matter happening. So you can turn on your fan to increase the forced decay of particulate matter around the building. However, that still remains a challenge. They can force the decay to some extent, but can't be efficient to what you might need. So that's why comes the point of air purification. But again, as Mr. Barun also said, that we might be focusing on things like PM, but CO2 might be increasing. Again, with fresh air units, there would be a challenge of increase in your energy consumption, right? So it's all about what's your priority. Is it my health the priority? So I don't worry about the cost, but at the same time, by increasing the energy, you are increasing the CO2 in the atmosphere, right? So it's, as a consumer, we should understand what are the things that we need best for us and what we want to live with, right? So that is something I think should be understood. And also, just one point I want to add, as a low-cost sensors that are out there in the market, some studies are out there which suggest these sensors have error rate of more than 400%, right? So you can just imagine that AQI might be 200 and AQI might be, but you are getting is 200 and might be 800 actually. So that can be the difference in those low cost sensors. So that's the problem, and that is why CPCB now has said that you can't use low cost sensors to either, for at least for them, that they are not using AQI, and they have given a white paper, I believe, saying that you can't use AQI to say that this is the AQI, low cost AQI sensors. And also AQI sensors have different ranges, like they are either using IR radiations or laser based sensors. So their precision depends on that as well. But for as important the fresh air and the quality of air remains, it's still something that as a consumer we need to be more worried about, being like we should get the air which is what we are getting abroad.
That makes really sense and very progressive view. Mr. Barun, would you like to add anything to the views shared by Mr. Ravi?
All I'll say is that, yes, as a layman, most people will think that adding fresh air to a facility adds to energy costs. But today's technology has reached a point where I can actually save energy by putting in fresh air. And that's what the innovation design that we did for that Asian Development Bank Challenge was. We are running our facilities, and anybody is welcome to come and visit us. We have a new office in Sahibabad in an industrial area. And it's a small office, but we are running the entire summer month without any air conditioning, with completely perfect air quality, 0 PM 2.5, CO2s at about 450 to 500 parts per million, and all the gases are measured on a bi-weekly basis, and it's perfect air, and the temperature is at about 26 degrees centigrade throughout the summer without air conditioning. So our energy bill for those 2 months of peak summer is about 20% compared to a similar office of that size next to us. So fresh air, and it's running on 100% fresh air at that point in time. So fresh air is not necessarily added cost. If you can design the system with the right technology and the right innovation. And that's where, people who understand, from the Paharpur cooling towers world, we created Breathe Easy from the family, and we understand air conditioning and we understand air quality. We've been working on air in our own building for 30 years now at Paharpur Business Center. So we've taken the learnings of 30 years and created this solution and this business and this technology. And that's where we're seeing a huge game changer. Yes, during the peak monsoons, my energy bill is higher than any other facility. Yes, I will agree to that. But if I take the annual average, when I'm getting free cooling because of extra fresh air in the November, December timeframe, and I'm getting very low cost cooling in the peak summer when the humidity is low, my annual average, I'm still saving 20% on my energy bills on an annual average. And that's possible. So today, it's aligning with the Prime Minister's vision of a lower carbon or a carbon-free India by 2070. We are reducing our energy bills. We are disease resilient. The transmission risk of diseases is much lower in our facility. I'll never ever say that it can become zero. You can never make the risk of transmission of disease zero, but we are reducing that risk tremendously. And we are sustainable. It is a sustainable technology with the right solutions, and it's possible. It's done. You come and experience it, because when it's on a PowerPoint, it's one thing, but when it's a real facility and real live experience, then it's a different thing. So anybody, please, welcome to come.
Absolutely.
Right. I just want to add one more clarification here. So what Mr. Barun was talking about mostly was large establishments, right? What we were talking about was mostly in terms of individual level. So in terms of homes, yes, you will most definitely see the increase and that's why the energy level and then CO2 ultimately leading to higher CO2 emissions. But definitely for large establishments, this is the future, and that's how people are going about it.
Very true, Mr.
Just a
Ravi,
clarification.
Mr. Ravi and Mr. Barun, you both of you pointed out a relevant point. But here, I would like to hear from Mr. Prashant as well. Like we are talking about industrial premises or corporations or offices, but when you look at even cities, most of, except Delhi, probably when we talk about inside air quality, people may raise their eyebrows in India. But are we seeing really our new people are getting aware about the need for air quality? Because we don't see the air quality readings in front of the corporations or hotels or even public spaces. Hardly few locations in a city you see that, but this is the air quality, and they exhibit that. So Prashant, is there any way that we can bring air quality reading instruments like how we read temperature to be a handy instruments available for people to see that what kind of air quality is prevailing in a particular area?
Absolutely. I think from the awareness perspective, I definitely see in last couple of years, at least 4 to 5 years, awareness is growing, and it has grown at a very rapid pace in last 3-4 years, especially in northern part of India. Barun, you are sitting in one of the most polluted zone and still maintaining zero. I think you deserve a big shout out, because I know Saibaba, perhaps I'm your neighbor and I'm your next visitor from this panel. So I'll connect with you. I'll visit you sometime. I'm very nearby to your place. So awareness is definitely increasing. And how do we measure that? I'm sitting at my place, you're sitting at your place. How do we know that awareness is sitting? I'll give you an anecdote. So last year, one of my neighbor, he went to a Chroma or maybe to a Reliance digital store, and he wanted to buy an air purifier, and there was a queue for air purifiers. Can you imagine that guy said, I have only 30 in stock and my stock got exhausted. The next lot is going to come maybe today or tomorrow. I will have another 30. So I'm taking advanced bookings. I'm referring to Delhi. I'm in Delhi. So, Delhi, North India, because of its topography, राजस्थान से बहुत सैंड आता है हमारे यहाँ. Okay, पंजाब से, हरियाणा की तरफ से जो stubble burning का जो smoke है वो आता है. And on top of it, Delhi itself, the number of vehicles, so I can't absolve ourselves. Daily number of vehicle is equal to Bombay, Chennai and maybe Bangalore put together. So we have a very high vehicular load on the roads. On top of it, it's a transit hub. So within North, you will see that, all the commercial vehicles, if somebody has to go from Rajasthan to UP, he has to go through Delhi. So there's a lot of commercial traffic. There is a lot of private cars here. There are industrial belts. So Faridabad is an industrial belt. Sahibabad, where Barun is there, that's an industrial belt. Gurgaon has some manufacturing facilities. Noida and Greater Noida has now some manufacturing facilities. Delhi has its old industrial area like Kirtinagar, Mayapuri, Anand Parbat. All this adds to the the pollution load of Delhi. West or maybe South is a little blessed that the pollution level are much lesser in southern part of India compared to North. So in North, there is a long queue. People are buying, I see people buying air purifiers. I don't know whether they know about it, they do not know about it, but they are concerned about it. They don't need to do engineering to understand this. They know that there is a problem. Whether they are solving it even after spending 30,000 rupees on a purifier, whether it gets solved or not, I really don't know. But they are aware of the problem, and that's the starting point. If I am not even aware that I have an issue, I will not do anything to solve it. So that, and you know what Barun said, that the EV is now coming with an air purifier. It might be a marketing gimmick to start. Down the line, 3 years, 4 years, the technology will improve. People will ask for better, people will ask questions that is it a HEPA filter? Is it a ULPA filter? What kind of filter you are giving? Okay, what is the efficiency? So this is a starting point, a good start point. Mr. Gopal Krishna also asked that should air conditioner have a PM count? I say yes, it must have. Whether the readings are right, wrong, it's a secondary. But people should know that my air is good or not good, so that they can ask questions. When they ask questions, they will find out the answers also. If they do not, some manufacturer will come, some startup will come, some entrepreneur will come, some Pied Piper will come and charm all the customers. And definitely there's a big market, but awareness has to be there. And this awareness comes from all the marketing done by commercial people like Philips is one of the leading manufacturer for air purifiers. There are so many. Eureka Forbes is manufacturing, Kent is manufacturing. There's a collective market which is working for this awareness. Then the air conditioner manufacturers, then the car manufacturers. So number of people, number of company, as long as people are joining this conversation, ultimately we will see that overall there is a maturity level which will come into the market and we will get better and better. So it's a good starting point, I think.
Absolutely, and it was a wonderful anchoring statement as well for this session. What you gave, Mr. Prashant, thank you so much. And we today discussed more about the consumption points of air filtration. Probably it's a time to look at how we need to seriously look at these sources of air contamination that we will come in the coming series of our discussions. Thank you so much for each one of you to joining this session. Gopalji, I think it's a time to conclude our session. So I request Rajeshri to close this session.
Thank you, panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on today's integrating modern technologies with IAQ. We hope you have enjoyed the session thoroughly. Before wrapping up the session, we would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Prashant Jain, Mr. Ravi Kaushik, and Mr. Barun Agarwal. I would also like to thank Mr. Gopal Anand and Mr. Prasad Nair for taking up this initiative. We request our delegates and viewers to stay connected with us on our social media handles. Thermal Control Magazine is available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also download an app from Google Play and App Store. So with this, you would like to announce the closing of today's session. Request you to stay tuned for more such sessions. Thank you and goodbye.